The first thing I learned about creating suspense is that a room will tell you when it's lying. The lecture hall smelled of rain that never came. Chairs aligned as if waiting for applause that had dissolved into static. And the emergency lights hummed with a soft, dishonest cadence of a pendulum. Something in the air kept erasing sentence endings. People would remember the beginning of a story and wobble when asked to finish it. I told them unease is contagious, then watched it pass from mouth to mouth like a rumor about a neighbor who never existed. At first, the signs were small. Phones replaying conversations from an hour later, a student sketching spiral galaxies that matched no map, an old janitor swearing the mop bucket had moved itself toward the door. I altered tone, introduced cadence, lowered my voice. They leaned in. They wanted to be unnerved. They wanted to recognize the sensation. I fed it, snatches of wrongness, glimpses where the ceiling seemed too high, a shadow under the lectern that moved in ways gravity could not explain. It is astonishing how quickly people accept a narrative if the world obliges by refusing to match it. My own mind frayed on the edge of the craft. Nights bled into rehearsal. I repeated lines until I believed I had uncovered their truth. The line between stage and classroom thinned until, in the mirror, I could not tell whether the person staring back was measuring effect or being measured. Paranoia is a thorough teacher. I stopped trusting light fixtures the way bulbs blinked like false pupils. I cataloged small betrayals, time lagging by a breath, coffee cooling toward a temperature that remembered a different planet. Then the world stopped pretending to be merely theatrical. A presence arrived carrying geometry instead of drum beats. An intelligence testing English like a child testing a lock. It spoke in reflections, on the polished table, in the ripple of a coffee surface, and left diagrams in dust. When it occupied the room, our sentences warped. Metaphors turned into coordinates. Similes became instructions. It did not need to enter bodies. It rearranged the room's priorities, made saying the wrong word a kind of invocation. I found myself apologizing to the walls. The final lesson was brutal in its simplicity. Humans make stories to feel safe. We stitch meaning to fabric that will not hold. I watched one student leave smiling with an expression too intent, as if she had learned a new grammar for listening. The janitor left his keys on the desk and never returned. I closed the door and listened for anything that might sound like goodbye, and found instead a thin, repeating pattern, like a metronome counting down a language we had not yet earned. I leave you with the room, the lights, and the silence that still answers when I knock, because the answer was never mine to keep, and the next lesson begins when someone else repeats my mistakes.